Hi, this video's looking at the children, the child survivors of Grenfell. We know that a lot of children were housed in this block, and you know, a reliable source from a fireman was a few days ago. They had 60 bodies of children. You know, they pulled out 200 bodies, and 60 of them were children. And those were the bodies of the people. A lot of them had got together in one room. Now, what's concerning me now, and I'm really, really concerned, and please pick up on it, because, you know, I've been working on cases related to very serious abuse of children involving all the London authorities, including the councils, and just the whole thing is a cesspit. That's all I can say. It's a cesspit. And knowing what I know, I'm really, really concerned. Okay, what has happened to the children that survived this, whose parents didn't survive? What has happened to the baby that got thrown out of the window? We want to know. You know, I can't live with it anymore. It's driving me mad. I'm not even a resident at Grenfell. I don't even know any of the people there, but I do know them because they're human beings. And, you know, like I say, I grew up in exactly that kind of multicultural community, and you know, I really understand the dynamics of what's going on here. And I know I'm being angry in some videos, but I just can't help it, because it's too much to just sit back and listen to the BBC going on with their lives. You know, every time I hear this 79 dead, it is a stab in the heart, because, you know, they've got the list of all the children. They know all the children's names that were living in there. They know who was there. So we need those names, because we need to be able, nobody's going to be able to identify the burnt, charred bodies are there. But if we've got a list of names, and then if there's any DNA to be taken, at least we've got a name. If there's any record of that person, we can, you know, connect it to a family member. This needs a proper investigation. It needs a criminal investigation. It needs a forensic investigation, and the forensic investigation will have to include family members, so that any DNA can be measured against family members who've said, well, we've lost our child, we've lost our grandmother, we can't find our auntie, here's our DNA. You know, this needs to be done, and there's no level of professionalism at anything here, and it is insult to injury. It's just impounding that sense of that people with limited funds can be just made worthless. And that really disturbs me, that all that has to happen to you in this society is for you to become poor. And that's it. You've got no human rights, you know. And so now I want to know, what has happened to that baby that got thrown out of the window? What has happened to that baby? What was that baby's name? Where is that baby now? Who is looking after that baby? Who is going to stand up for that baby's rights to compensation now and justice? They've been robbed of his or her mother. And has the mother, can she even be identified? You know, and this is why it's so important that the names go forward. Now, you know, it's just absolutely horrendous. As debris continued to tumble from the building, one witness described seeing a child on fire jump from the 22nd floor. And there was no mention of children among the dead, not one single mention. And this is what has upset me so much. It's the collective ignorance, and it is ignorance. It is a strategy, isn't it? Let's not focus on the children. Let's dampen down the emotion. Let's remember that these are only poor people, okay, and people of different ethnicities. And this is, this report from the Independent, and I've outed these before, okay, as covert narcissists. That's what they are. They're the covert narcissist media. They do every bit as bad as the Sun, but they do it in a very covert way. And here, straight away, we're talking about Mr. Lammy, who's dear friend, in inverted commas. Why does dear friend need to be in inverted commas? What is that about? And if we go down, and he is the only one who is human in all of this, that's in power, in any sort of power. He's the only human face that I have witnessed in all of this, and God bless you, Mr. Lamb. And then I go down to the comments here, and Kamakar here has said just one point to make about this article, and he's put a quote, or she. The politician who was born in his constituency of Tottenham to Guyanese parents. Why do we need to know this? What relevance does it have to what this MP has to say within the context of this article? Subliminal racism. To those who might think I'm just splitting hairs, would you think it rather peculiar if you read this sentence in an editorial? Theresa May, who was born in Eastbourne to British parents. See my point? And I've said, well said. I was concerned to see mention of Mr. Lammy's dear friend placed in quote marks, as if she was only allegedly a dear friend, or that it's quite abnormal to have a dear friend who lives in a council flat, i.e. she was only a dear friend to someone like Mr. Lammy, being as he's born to foreign parents. Covert racism. Sam Brando, glad I'm not the only one who thought that was weird. He's a British MP. His parents' place of birth is of no relevance to this article. I agree with Kamaka. They mention his ethnic background, but not the fact he's a trained legal barrister who graduated at Harvard University in the States, USA, and that when it comes to the law, he knows exactly what he's talking about. The Tories are trying their best to cover it up, and supposedly firemen are losing their jobs when they mention how many are actually dead. So, there is some serious stuff going on here. And then we've got, right at this moment as well, suddenly, the EDL leaders all over Facebook and Twitter and all over the internet, and even being interviewed by the media, spouting stuff about anti-Muslim stuff and all this kind of stuff. What's that? To feed the fires of hatred. And people saying, oh well, it was a tower block of terrorists and all this kind of thing. It is just so disgusting. But like I say, now we need to know what has happened to the children. We want a list of all the residents in these flats, because these children now are at risk if they are in the hands of London authorities and they've got no family or parents with them. They are at serious risk. And I know people think I'm mad, and perhaps I am, okay, but I do make sense. And I know that my concerns are really genuine, and people just aren't aware. But I tell you now that every single child that has escaped this, if they haven't got any parents with them and nobody looking out for them, those children are at serious risk. And I plead with you please find out what has happened to that baby. Find out, or we need to know all the names of the child survivors. We handed in a crime report to the police 2 years ago about the terrible, terrible crimes that we lawfully suspect employees within all London authorities have been doing to children. I'm sorry, but please, please, somebody in the community, David Lammy, get together, find out what's happened to these children. Thank you.